Two murder investigations from the case files of Lieutenant Joe Kenda.
You all die today!
First, a family affair spirals out of control.
Oh my God, Dad!
There was no justice.
And Kenda must figure out why.
Whatever happened started right here.
Drop the keys out the window! Do it now!
You're being handled here at gunpoint.
Pick up the car!
Don't do something stupid.
Then, a church of God turns into a house of horrors.
I am the Lord Jesus Christ!
They were betraying for their lives.
He has an inherent violence about him.
Don't touch the knife, Richard!
He's not complying. He's just kind of staring right through us.
Don't do it, Richard!
In my business, you become a very light sleeper. I had a lot of people wanted to kill me, among other things. If I would hear any noise, I was awake. I was not just awake, I was wide awake. This is the way our life was. It was from one event to the next.
There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved. Somebody has to look out for the victim. If you kill, I will find you.
It's the middle of the night. Larry and Kelly Schlott are asleep. When all of a sudden,
Larry, what's that?
sounds like something at the front door.
Who the hell could it be at this hour of the night?
I'll go check it out. Stay here.
Larry, what are you doing?
Larry picks up a baseball bat. He's ready to use it if he has to.
Louise?
But he's shocked when he opens the door. His neighbor Louise is crying and frantic.
It's Peter, he's been shot. I got 911, I need you to help me.
She knew that Larry knew CPR, so she asked him to come render aid to Pete.
Oh my God. Pete! 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 Oh my God.
Obviously has serious injuries.
Come on, Pete. You with me, buddy?
Larry knows it's not working. It's not going to be able to save him.
A few miles north, Sergeant Joe Kenda is struggling with his own personal battle.
I don't sleep well. And I would often slip out the front door and be on my front porch and smoke a cigarette and think about all the things I've done and all the things I've seen and cannot unsee. And now here we go again.
Within the hour, Kenda arrives on scene and meets with Detective Skip Arms.
Hey, Skip.
Evening, Joe.
When I arrived on scene, there was very little activity going on. There was no traffic in the streets. It was really very quiet. So what do we got?
We've got one shooting victim, shot multiple times. He left here in the ambulance alive, but we're not sure what his status is now.
You got an ID?
Yes.
The officer says that the victim is a 35-year-old male whose name is Peter Martinez. He was shot in the front yard of his own home.
Any witnesses?
Martinez's wife and kids were in the house at the time of the shooting, but they've gone to the hospital with him in the ambulance. That's about it.
They've already awakened several of their direct neighbors, all of whom say they didn't see anything. So the only thing left for us there. You can learn a lot from a crime scene if you listen and pay attention. The crime scene will speak to you. It will whisper, but it will speak to you.
The victim was lying here when the medical arrived. What's that?
Looks like a crescent wrench.
Let's make sure we have that dusted for prints. It would appear that the crescent wrench would have some role in this situation. It potentially could have either been an offensive or a defensive weapon.
We also got some casings over here.
How many?
5 total. 25 caliber.
We also found a slug in the yard, too. The front yard appeared to be trampled down, so that indicated that perhaps there was some kind of struggle that may have occurred on the yard and then moved into the street. Whatever happened started right here.
My experience tells me there's a confrontation. Words get exchanged, threats are made, things get out of hand, and it ends with gunfire.
Which hospital was the victim transported to?
St. Francis.
Okay, Skip, I'll meet you there. Looks to me.
So for now, we've learned all we can here. We need to respond to the hospital where our victim is to determine A, his condition, and more importantly, B, that's where we believe we're going to find our witnesses.
Mr. Martinez was shot 5 times in all. Once in the shoulder, chest, stomach, and twice in the arm. He's in surgery now, but he looks doubtful. You know, another thing that you should probably be aware of is that the medics said they found him in his boxer shorts when they first picked him up.
Really?
The odds are he was either getting ready for bed or was already in bed. And when he was awakened by something, he came out in his underwear, and whatever happened next resulted in 5 holes in him that he didn't have a little while earlier.
Was his family around?
His wife and children in the lobby.
Thanks, Doc.
So we encounter first the wife of the victim, Louise, and she has 2 sons that are with her, Peter Jr. and Eric.
Excuse me. I'm Sergeant Kendra, this is Detective Myers.
I'm Louise.
I think we could talk to you for a minute with you and your sons.
Well, I'd prefer if they had a little more time, but I can talk to you.
They're worried about their father. No point in even attempting a conversation with them.
Could you tell us a little bit about your relationship with your husband?
Well, we aren't technically married, but Peter and I have been together for over 15 years.
And everything was good between you guys?
Yeah, we had a good relationship. We actually work together, so we argue sometimes, but nothing serious.
Peter and Louise are both custodians at a building downtown. Doesn't pay a lot of money and it's hard work, but they get to work together and they enjoy that. And it's something that Louise really is happy about, that she gets to spend her days working with the love of her life.
So what exactly happened last evening?
Well, Peter and I were working and we got home around 10:30.
They went in to check on their boys, and they then made their way to bed.
Exhausted. What do we have going on tomorrow, babe?
Eric's got baseball in the afternoon, and I'm meeting Lucy for lunch.
Alright, well, I think I'm just gonna make some stuff for this weekend.
Wake up, Peter!
What the hell's that?
He goes and opens the door. It's his sister, Karen Michaels,
What's up, brother? You gonna let me in or what?
and her friend Lucia, and they are both extremely intoxicated.
Hey, Louise! Let's have a drink.
They had been at a party, and they came over there to keep the party underway.
Peter and his sister get along?
Sort of. I think Karen can be a real pain in the ass.
He was really sometimes super annoyed with her because of her manners and why she lived her life the way she did, of which he did not approve. He thought she drank too much and too often, and so on. So there's always this back and forth between he and his sister, and now his sister's at his front door.
At first, Peter was annoyed, but after a while, he started to loosen up and relax.
I don't know what either one of you are talking about.
I remember the old days.
You don't.
And they open some beers, and they turn on some music, and they're talking, and they're actually enjoying themselves.
I hope they do another block party. I gotta take a leak.
I'll be back.
Everything seemed to be going well.
What's that song?
You can change it if you want. Stereo's in Junior's room. Just try to be quiet. He's sleeping. You want another?
Yeah. You know me?
But all of a sudden, something happened.
And Louise heard some type of a commotion in Peter Jr.'s room.
What are you ask? Come on, Lucia, let's go.
Wait, why?
I said, come on, let's get the hell out of here.
What happened? What's wrong?
Louise asked Peter what happened, and his response was, "Oh, that's just Karen. Good riddance. I'm glad she's gone." They then went to bed.
Not 30 minutes after we laid down, we heard people shouting outside.
Come on, damn it, Karen!
Louise looks out the window. She sees two cars, a red car and a gray car. And there's a bunch of people out there, and she doesn't know who these people are.
What were they saying?
I don't know, but they sounded upset.
So Louise is going to call 911 to report this problem.
911, what's your emergency?
But before she can say a word...
Hey, there's... So I dropped the phone and I ran outside. The red car was gone and the gray one was pulling away. And Peter was just lying there in the street, all alone.
Do you think Karen could have shot Peter?
I don't think so. I mean, it's her own brother.
Okay, you said you saw a gray car. Do you know what type of car it was?
Yeah, I think so.
Having this information at hand, it's important for us to try to find the gray car,
Starting to kind of dispatch.
and the occupants of the car.
How do you put on APB?
So we offer the description of the suspect vehicle over the air to all officers, all points bulletin. A suspect vehicle in what probably is a fatal shooting. Consider armed and dangerous.
Luckily, it doesn't take long for an officer to spot the vehicle in question.
31 to dispatch.
Dispatch to 31.
Got eyes on that possible suspect vehicle. Go ahead and send me back up. 2000 block of Corona Street.
We basically call it a felony traffic stop.
Driver, turn off the car and drop the keys out the window.
They fear that the occupants are potentially involved in a serious violent felony crime.
Do it now.
So the driver was directed to exit first.
Driver, step out slowly. Keep your hands where I can see them.
He was a tall, black male, which didn't fit the...
Step out of the car! Do it now!
When the passenger steps out of the car,
Hands on your head.
she is Karen Michaels, sister of the victim. How convenient. So now we do have the right car, and we certainly have the right people. Now this situation has become dangerous. We're investigating the shooting of a father of two children, Peter Martinez. And patrol officers have just stopped a car that was seen fleeing from the scene,
Driver, step out slowly.
containing an occupant that was involved in a disturbance with the victim.
On your knees.
You're being handled here at gunpoint. Don't do something stupid.
Don't move.
Because of the short time frame between the shooting and the contact of this vehicle,
All right, stand up.
the chances were very high the occupants were involved in the crime.
Put your hands behind your back. Do it now.
So they had to be treated as potentially violent felony suspects.
It's clear.
But so the two occupants were driven to the detective bureau. And once there, they were placed in separate rooms.
So what do you want to do? Why don't you take care and I'll talk to this guy? Works for me.
This individual identifies himself as Hank Michaels, and he is Karen Michaels' husband. And they have this car registered in both of their names.
Is someone gonna finally tell me what the hell is going on? I was actually hoping that you'd be the one to do that.
So we know Karen left the house upset. Did she go home and tell her husband that she had this fight with her brother? And did he come back over to the house in his gray car to avenge his wife?
How'd you end up going for a drive with your wife so early in the morning?
Man, I was sleeping. And Karen came home all worked up.
He says his wife woke him up when she came home. She said she got in a terrible fight with her brother, and she wants him to drive her to her mother's house.
You didn't ask what went on between her and Peter?
No, they're always arguing about something. And besides, Karen was drunk, and I did not want to get her going. So I just drove her to her mother's house.
And as they were in the act of doing that, they're stopped by the police, and they got guns pointed at him, and he doesn't know what's going on.
So you never went to Peter's house at all?
No, not at all.
So there's Hank's story. Is that believable? Well, maybe it is. Think back to Louise. Louise says she sees Karen and some people. If this guy is there to defend his wife, he's the one knocking on the door.
So we try to find a record for Hank. He doesn't have a record. He's clean. At face value, there's no reason to believe he's being deceptive to us. So now our next step is to want to talk with Karen and see where that takes us.
Wake up, Miss Michaels.
What the hell are you doing?
I want to talk to you about your brother.
Which brother?
Karen Michaels is beyond drunk. She's loaded, and she couldn't hit the ground with her hat.
Her brother Peter? Peter Martinez?
What about him?
He was shot 5 times. Do you happen to know who did that to him?
I ain't talking.
You know enough to keep her mouth shut when you're in a jam, and guess what, baby cakes? You are in a jam.
All right. Well, we're still going to hold you for the time being.
What?
So have we gotten very far? No. We have her, which is useful, but she has nothing to say to us. So now we need another pathway to find out who we're looking at.
So we felt that with some time passing, we would want to circle back and see if either Louise knew anything new, or if by this point, either of her sons were willing to talk.
Have you received any word on your husband?
He went in for another surgery, so we're just here to get something to eat before heading back.
We were wondering if either one of your sons might be able to talk to us.
I really don't think Eric is, but Junior could probably talk to you. Junior, come here for a minute.
Peter Jr. is in high school. We think he's our best shot because he's a little older and maybe a little less emotional.
Can I have a seat?
And maybe a little more honest.
Junior, did you happen to see any of what happened to your father last night?
Yeah,
Can you tell us what happened?
I was sleeping in my bedroom when my Aunt Karen woke me up. Aunt Karen, what's going on?
How do you work this thing?
They had long lengths of speaker wire coming from a stereo in the son's bedroom to the speakers in the living room area. Peter Jr. says she wants to change the music, that she can't make this thing operate.
Hey, Karen, what the hell are you doing in here? Damn it, Karen, don't be disrespecting my house. Just look at my son.
Your radio's crap.
Karen, get the hell out of my son's room now. Oh, shut up. What you gonna do?
He slaps her open hand in the face, hard.
You're always walking around here drunk asking me for money. You don't respect no one. Get out of here. Go to hell, Peter, you asshole.
She stormed out of the room and my dad told me to go back to sleep. But a little while later, something woke me up again.
Wake up, Peter!
He was awakened, so he gets up in a haze. Looks out the window, he sees his aunt, Karen Michaels. Her children are with her.
What are you doing, you crazy
And they are in an argument.
Did you see what happened?
Well, I ran outside and tried to help.
Dad, what's going on? Off my property. Whatever. Man, you, Karen? Get the out of here. Dad, dude, go get my gun.
And the kid says, I didn't know what he meant because we don't have a gun. I guess he was trying to bluff him.
Hey, calm down. Calm down.
Apparently it worked because he saw Karen and the kids start retreating.
I went back inside because I thought it was over, but it wasn't.
Peter Jr. says
Oh my God, Dad!
he heard several gunshots.
As the gray car drove away, Peter Jr. tells us that he was able to see the person that was in the passenger seat, and that is most likely our shooter. This is the break we need.
Did you recognize him? Yes, I know who it is.
This whole search process in this investigation has to be to find a good witness, and we have just discovered a star witness. Now, who might this shooter be? We're investigating the shooting of Peter Martinez, who was gunned down in front of his own home.
Oh my God, Dad!
We've now learned that his son, Peter Jr., got a good look at the shooter.
So what's the guy's name? Jake Ferguson.
It isn't Karen, and it's certainly not her husband.
Who's Jake Ferguson? He dates my cousin Nina.
The information that Peter Jr. could give us about Jake is he's a white male. He's about 18 years old or so.
He's only been in town a few weeks, but everybody classifies him as a bully, and everybody knows that Jake always has a gun.
Do you know where we can find this Jake? I think he's in the army or something. Thank you for talking to us. Yeah, we'll let ourselves out. Thank you.
So we drive over to Fort Carson, and we find out that Mr. Ferguson is living and working on Fort Carson as a private E1 in the United States Army. So we have to elicit the cooperation of military police authorities, and they snatch up Jake Ferguson in a heartbeat.
Check in with the Colorado Springs Police Department. Do you know why I'm here?
I think so.
You can just see it in his eyes. It's obvious that he's scared. As someone who interviews and interrogates people, you need to gear your questioning based on what you see in order to be effective.
Am I under arrest?
Not at the moment. But I need to know what happened last night.
Okay. I'll tell you everything.
He didn't hold back. He really needed to get this off his chest.
I was at my girlfriend Nina's house, and we had a few beers, watched a movie, and then I fell asleep on the couch when her brother Rico woke me up.
Jake, come on, get up, man.
What's going on?
Come on, we've gotta go. She's already in the car, we gotta help my mom. You got your gun?
Yeah, ready?
All right, let's go.
The brother Rico tells Jake they're going to go settle a fight between Nina's mom and her brother Peter Martinez.
He sees this as an opportunity to be an enforcer, to go help the family defend their honor, so to speak.
Who went to Peter's house?
Karen was hammered, so I drove her car. Nina, Rico, and their other sister Marta were in another car.
Peter, come out here. I want to talk to you.
I ain't gonna hit our mom.
Get your ass out here, Uncle Peter.
I kind of hung back by the car while they went up to the house to confront Peter.
Come out here.
Peter jerked the door open, already in a rage.
Karen, what the f*** you doing, you crazy bitch?
You a big man hitting a woman, Uncle Peter?
Off my property.
And is screaming and yelling and using obscenities toward Karen Michaels and her children.
Hey, learn to control your kids. You don't get to tell me what to do with my kids. I'm gonna kick you, Peter.
Beat his ass, Mom.
Jake says a scuffle begins, followed by them falling down and rolling around in the dirt in the front yard.
Beat his ass, Mom.
Off my property.
Jake said that Karen actually pulled Peter's pants off, leaving him just in his underwear. And then she started laughing at him.
You, Karen?
Touch me again.
Hey, do something.
Dad,
Come on.
what's going on?
Hey,
Junior, go get my gun.
Get in the car. You don't want me to drive?
So they started heading back to the cars. I go to get in the front, but Karen insisted on driving.
Come on, damn it.
Because Karen was drunk, she was having difficulty getting the car started.
Get the hell out of here. What's wrong with you? Yo, back up the car. Me, Dev? Are you drunk and stupid? Huh? I said back off the car, old man. What'd you call me? Think you're tough, white boy?
Jake says that he then sees Peter reach for his waistband. It was long and shiny.
Jake panics. And empties that gun into Peter Martinez from a range of 3 or 4 feet. And every bullet he fires hits him.
Oh, damn. Oh, damn.
Give me the gun. Give me the gun. It's not like he wasn't asking for it.
Even though she was still pretty intoxicated, the fact that she didn't care whether or not her brother just got shot is pretty callous.
What did Karen do with the gun?
I don't know. Think she has it somewhere in the house?
Well, Jake, I appreciate you being honest with me, but I'm gonna have to place you under arrest. Go ahead and cuff him.
Peter Martinez has been pronounced dead at the hospital. So now it's no longer attempted murder, it's just murder.
After Jake Ferguson's confession, investigators go to the house of Karen Michaels in search of the murder weapon.
We find a .25 caliber semi-automatic pistol. It's obviously been wiped clean, but ballistics says this is the weapon that fired the shots that killed Peter Martinez.
Jake was charged with second-degree murder. Karen was charged with accessory to the second-degree murder. And then the district attorney ultimately made the decision to take this case to a grand jury. And after the case was presented to the grand jury, they came back with a no true bill.
Meaning that, in their opinion, there's insufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Jacob Ferguson engaged in criminal behavior. So Mr. Ferguson was released without charges, and therefore so was Karen Michaels. And the matter was closed.
You know, it's the kind of thing where really there was no justice. No justice for Peter, no justice for his family, because nobody had to be accountable for what happened to him. Had Peter gone back in the house, closed the door, would he still be alive today? Just makes you wonder. It was just a sad set of circumstances that cost somebody their life.
Mix old family hatreds, loss of control of your emotions, and alcohol, and it often results in violent death. That's a terribly sad thing in the case of Peter Martinez.
Coming up, an unhinged madman threatens the safety of an entire church congregation.
You all will die today.
This is St. Mary's Cathedral. How could this have happened in here?
In January of 1996, church service was going on. It was Sunday morning, downtown.
How are you?
Near the end of the first service, an usher, Ron Meredith, is passing the collection plate, like they do every Sunday. But a man is sitting in the back. It just seemed a little out of it.
These people don't know what the hell they're doing.
Give it to me, sir. Excuse me, sir. That's not yours. Give it to me, damn it. Give me that.
There was a lot of confusion.
Sir, back off.
Ron is able to grab it. And the deranged man told everybody,
I am the Lord Jesus Christ. You all will die today.
That made people very, very nervous.
Honey, call the police.
Later that morning, Lieutenant Joe Kenda is on his way into work.
Dispatch to X-ray 1.
The radio cracks and it's the 1 X-ray 1. My call sign.
Street, redirect immediately.
Copy that, I'm on the way.
Ooh. On a Sunday morning? When this town is either in church or still asleep? Pretty unusual. At the address before I realized this was St. Mary's Church. It's a huge church, a beautiful building. Been there for many, many years. My parents got married there in 1938.
Good morning, Lieutenant.
Good morning. So what in the world's going on here?
Come inside, take a look.
So I walk in that church as I had done many times. I'm directed to the men's room.
Whoa.
This is St. Mary's Cathedral. How could this have happened in here?
Less than an hour before Lieutenant Kenda arrived on scene, chaos was just beginning to unfold at St. Mary's.
Hello, 911?
911, what's your emergency?
A man just tried to steal from our church, and then he threatened to kill us. And I'm afraid he's going to try to come back.
We'll send units immediately.
Okay, thank you.
CSPD officers immediately respond, including patrolman Robert Benjamin.
In January of '96, I was in the patrol division.
We're here putting the call. Yeah, right here, we did. Is the suspect still inside?
No, he fled. Came in, tried to take our collection plate, and threatened everybody.
Where's the rest of the congregation?
They're inside.
Okay. Can you describe this guy?
Well, he's a pretty big guy.
Mr. Meredith told me he was kind of a stocky build, about 180 pounds.
As Ron is talking to the police, something interesting happened.
Yeah, I think I know this guy. His name's Deersmith. Richard Deersmith. You sure about that? Yeah, things happened pretty quickly in there, but I'm pretty sure it's him.
So now they're just looking for a description. They're looking for Richard Deersmith.
Give me a moment, please. Golf 85 dispatch. Try to get an APB and a white male. 6'2", 180 pounds, named Richard Deersmith.
When officers call in the suspect's name,
Patrol, did you say Deersmith?
it immediately raises red flags.
That's right.
You have a pen handy?
So they find out that Mr. Deersmith has a rather extensive criminal record.
So apparently our suspect been arrested 17 times in 3 different states. 2 of those were for assaulting an officer.
So you take that in sum, and this not only is a disturbed person, but he has an inherent violence about him. And he's physically capable of carrying it out.
We have his name and description out there. We're looking for him. You call us if anything else happens.
Thank you so much.
The police leave the scene and start looking for the suspect in the neighborhood.
He resides in the area. Witnesses in his neighborhood report they saw Deersmith leave his house carrying his large knife, which they say is routine for him. He's always ranting out loud and talking to himself or to invisible people, and they are very frightened of him. He's obviously deeply disturbed.
While officers are busy canvassing the area, the congregation picks up where it left off.
A reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthian brothers and sisters. Striving for the greatest spiritual gifts. God is patient.
Smith returns to the church, and this time, he's got a knife in a sheath on his belt.
And if I have to give you prophecy, you have to handle these dreams.
Deersmith did something kind of interesting and maybe unexpected. He went straight to the bathroom. deserve a lot of credit. The quick-thinking ushers. We need to get the police back out here.
Hey! I said get me out of this room!
Within moments, Officer Benjamin and company are back on the scene.
God, I'll punish you for this!
He's been going crazy in there.
Hey! Hey!
Does he have weapons on him? Yeah, he's got a knife.
We're gonna get out of this room!
Lots of thoughts going through my head, knowing we have a combative suspect in front of us.
Let's switch down here. It was not the first time that he had been involved in potential violence towards police.
The three officers go to the door, unlock the door.
Hands up, Richard! Put your hands up, Richard. Hands up! Don't do that, Richard.
The ushers hear somebody say, "Don't do it, buddy. Don't do it."
Richard, no! Don't do it, Richard! Richard, stop!
The church services continue after the dust settles from the emotion of this event. And it's no more than a few minutes after the officers leave, Richard Deersmith comes back in the church. He has a knife, and he's locked in the bathroom.
Hands up, Richard! Hands up!
The police open the door, guns drawn, because they didn't know what they were going to find.
Hey! Richard, stop!
The ushers heard a gunshot, and they thought, God, what is going on in there?
That's when the officers come out. And on their radio,
Need medical down at the church right now.
a shooting officer involved. As I walk in, I see Richard Deersmith lying dead on the floor with a single gunshot wound in the upper left chest. And you stand there for a moment in that doorway and you look in this men's room and you think, why would that happen? We need to find that out.
Shortly after Kenda examines the crime scene, an investigator from the district attorney's office arrives to assist.
On any officer-involved shooting, the district attorney's office is called immediately.
Well, there's definitely still a lot to figure out.
Okay. Well, we need to talk to everybody involved.
Of course.
The district attorney's office conduct all police officer-involved shootings independently of the police department. They are investigating why is it necessary for the police to use great force to effect his arrest.
So we teamed all of our investigators and detectives up together and started interviewing all the potential witnesses.
The eyewitness interviews help investigators piece together exactly what happened when Deersmith returned to the church.
When the ushers at the church saw Deersmith come back,
I am the sound God, or collection symbol.
with a knife,
And if I have the gift of prophecy,
they were scared. As they had the opportunity to lock him in the bathroom,
Hey! God will punish you for this! Hey! Let me out!
When Officer Benjamin responded for the second time,
Oh, God!
he knew the suspect had a history of assaulting police.
I was worried about the safety of the parishioners that were in the church.
Somebody get me
He's
out
been
of
in
here!
there going crazy. He's got a knife.
let's go this way.
At the time, all three officers had their hands on their guns. They were ready for anything. They knew he was armed at this point.
Somebody get me out of here!
Police, hands up! Hands up, Richard! Put your hands up, Richard.
Deersmith has the knife. It's a 10-inch blade Bowie knife. Very large knife.
Turn around, Richard. Turn around. Walk backward toward me. Turn around.
He's not complying. He's just kind of staring right through us.
Turn around, Richard. Richard, turn around and slowly walk back toward me. Good. Keep your hands visible. Okay, back up toward me. Very good. Hands up. Keep your hands up where I can see them. Nice and slow. Good. Good. Hands up. Do not put that hand down.
There's something called a continuum of force, and this is how police officers are trained. You confront someone, you announce to them that they're under arrest. If they physically resist you, you are authorized by law to use whatever force is necessary to overcome that resistance.
Don't do that, Richard. Do not touch that knife. Stop!
I am the Lord Jesus Christ.
These people don't know what the hell they're doing.
God, Lord, let me out.
Richard, do not touch that knife. Don't do it, Richard. No. Richard, stop.
He reached for the knife. At that particular point, I knew I had no other option.
It's a very difficult thing to take a human life. It is. Policemen are trained. Officer Benjamin followed his training to the T. He handled that perfectly under the worst possible circumstances, but it is a devastating emotional effect on the officer.
It wasn't until after everything had calmed down that I started to think about what had transpired. You know, just playing over and over in your head, and you start to sometimes second guess yourself, well, what if I'd have done this different?
In this particular case, the ruling from the district attorney was that the police officer was justified in using deadly force against Mr. Deersmith.
No charges were filed, and the matter was closed. And Mr. Deersmith was left to a higher court.
You never forget it. Quite frankly, it's tough to sleep. You know, it just plays continually in your head, and you eventually come to the conclusion that you had to do what you had to do, and it was necessary, and you know, you just move on from that, but you never forget.
I was very fortunate in all of my years as a policeman, even though I displayed my weapon probably 20,000 times. I never pulled a trigger, never once. We're in the business of saving people, not killing them. Officers try anything to avoid it, and they suffer sometimes for the rest of their days if they're called upon to do it.